During our last session, we covered nearly half and traced how King Ashwapati, in the course of his spiritual unfoldment, first extended his being till it embraced the whole of the universe, entered into the secrets of nature and grasped the cosmic map. Then he sees a pile of worlds erect like a mountain chariot to the gods, and he goes exploring the different worlds which stand with the earth as their foundation. We went through the different planes of existence, shared his experience, brilliant, awful, scintillating, and followed him to the very source of this world, the origin of this universe, and stood face to face with the supreme creatrix of this creation, the universal mother, to whom the king, as the representative of humanity, prays that all the glory, all the riches of knowledge, splendor, and power that were revealed to him on these higher planes should be translated, transmitted to the earth, so that they could be the possession of man. She asks him not to be impatient, to let nature take its course, and he should be content with what he has received. But he declines to be satisfied with his own salvation. And he prays to her intensely, and she gives him the boon that one shall descend on earth who will break the knot and transplant the heavens tree on mortal soil. In course of time, the divine grace, that is what the mother is born in a human form, and as she grows, since no suitor comes to claim her hand, overawed as everyone is by her mighty afflatus, her father sends her to seek her own comrade, with whom she had a mighty task to achieve. She goes into the forests, and destiny brings her face to face with one whom she recognizes as him whom she has met down the ages. And once again, a union is sealed between the two, the he and the she. But when she comes back to report to her father, the divine sage Narad reveals that Satyavan, the prince whom she has vowed to marry, is to die 12 months thence. She is asked to change her choice, which she refuses. And so she comes to the hermitage of Satyavan in the forest, leaving the palace, and lives with these exiled parents, serving them, always aware of the doom that is slowly coming. And in a moment of depression, as the date comes near, she hears a voice from the heights of her being, asking whether she had taken birth only to give room for grief. And she asks, what else can I do? My strength is taken away from me. And God is unmoved. I am content to die with my husband and follow him. But then she is taunted by the higher voice, whether that is the report that the messenger has to take to the Supreme Creator, that his servant who went forth comes back with his mission with her mission unaccomplished. And then she wakes up and asks, what should I do? The voice tells her, find out thy soul, because the strength is in thy soul. And she looked into herself and sought for her soul. And this is where we continue. As she looked into her soul, all the past, her own past and the past of humanity, comes before her eyes. A dream disclosed to her the cosmic past, the crypt seed and the mystic origins, the shadowy beginnings of world fate. A lamp of symbol, lighting hidden truth, imaged to her the world's significance. And then the poet traces how, from the very beginnings, this world came to be. In the indeterminate formlessness of self, creation took its first mysterious steps. It made the body shape a house of soul, and matter learned to think, and person grew. She saw space people with the seeds of life, and saw the human creature born in time. At first appeared a dim, half-neutral tide of being emerging out of infinite naught. A consciousness looked at the inconscient vast, and pleasure and pain stirred in the insensible void. When there was no consciousness, there was neither pain nor pleasure. All was an insensible void. All was the deed of a blind world energy. Unconscious of her own exploits, she worked, shaping a universe out of the inane. In fragmentary beings she grew aware. A chaos of little sensibilities gathered round a small ego's pinpoint head. That's the purpose, original purpose of the ego. Ego is the pinpoint head around which nature organizes in every form this chaos of little sensibilities. In it, a sentient creature found its poise. It moved and lived a breathing, thinking whole on a dim ocean of subconscious life. A formless surface consciousness awoke. A stream of thoughts and feelings came and went. A foam of memories hardened and became a bright crust of habitual sense and thought, a seat of living personality, and, mind this phrase, recurrent habits mimicked permanence. That is, a continual repetition of a habit creates the illusion of permanence, whereas in life there is nothing that is permanent. What is permanent stands behind life. Mind nascent labored out a mutable form. It built mind. Mind built a mobile house on shifting sands. A floating isle upon a bottomless sea. That's the labor of mind. It looked around it on its difficult field in the green, wonderful and perilous earth. It hoped in a brief body to survive, relying on matter's false eternity. It felt a godhead in its fragile house. It saw blue heavens, dreamed immortality. That is what the mind does. And she sees how man comes to be, how man is a bundle of several elements, how man is not of one piece. And then she describes, the poet observes how man's house of life holds not the gods alone. There are occult shadows, there are tenebrous powers, inhabitants of life's ominous nether rooms, a shadowy world's stupendous denizens. A careless guardian of his nature's powers, man harbors dangerous forces in his house. The titan and the fury and the jinn lie bound in the subconscious cavern pit, and the beast grovels in his antered den. Dire mutterings rise and murmur in their drowse. Insurgent sometimes raises its huge head, a monstrous mystery lurking in life's deeps. The mystery of dark and fallen worlds, the dread visages of the adversary kings. All this happens in man. The dreadful powers held down within his depths become his masters or his ministers. Enormous, they invade his bodily house, can act in his acts, infest his thought and life. Inferno surges in the human air and touches all with a perverting breath. Grave forces like a thin miasma creep, discoloring the walls of upper mind, in which he lives his fair and spacious life. This is the invasion of the nether elements in the house of man, that surge in unconscious moments occupy his mind and life. And it is then, he says, an awful laughter mocks at the world's pain, and massacre and torture grin at heaven. All is the prey of the destroying force. Creation rocks and trembles top and base. This evil nature housed in human hearts, a foreign inhabitant, a dangerous guest. The soul that harbors it, it can dislodge. This is a knuckle truth, that when evil starts getting room and permission to stay in one's heart, when a foreign spirit embodying evil and falsehood is allowed to get influence and domination over oneself, gradually that element, that spirit, drives out the soul. Two souls, two things can't stay in the same body. So it drives out the soul of its body and occupies the house. That is why he says, the soul that harbors it, it can dislodge. Expel the householder, possess the house. This can abolish man, annul his world. But there is a guardian power. There are hands that save. Calm eyes divine regard the human scene. That's the assurance that whatever the evil elements may appear to win, that's not the ultimate. They are there in nature, and we think we have got rid of them, but still they persist. They rise up in the most unexpected moments, and we make disconcerting discoveries that they are still there. He says, irresistible are nature's sequences. The seeds of sins renounced sprout from hid soil. The evil cast from our hearts once more we face. Our dead selves come to slay our living soul. A portion of us lives in present time. A secret mass in dim inconscious groups. Out of the inconscient and subliminal arisen, we live in mind's uncertain light and strive to know and master a dubious world, lit by an uncertain ray of human mind. And then he says, but this is only matter's first self-view, a scale and series in the ignorance. This is not all we are, all our world. Our greater self of knowledge waits for us. A supreme light in the truth-conscious vast. Truth has made the world, not blind nature's force. For here are not our large diviner heights. Our summits in the superconscious blaze are glorious with the very face of God. It is there towards which we are moving. And then She enters, Savitri, the princess, enters into herself to find her soul. At first, out of the busy hum of mind, as if from a loud thronged market into a cave, by an inward moment's magic she had come. A stark, hushed emptiness became herself. This is the first experience. When you indraw from the marketplace of the thoughts of the mind, the emotions of the heart, you have a feeling as if you are entering into a cave, a narrowing passage, and there is a hushed emptiness, as if everything is empty. And then she surged out of her body's wall and stood a little span outside herself. This is again a common experience. When you withdraw, able to separate from the body, she stood a little span outside herself and looked into her subtle being's depths, and in its heart, as in a lotus bud, divined her secret and mysterious soul. At the dim portal of the inner life that bars out from our depths the body's mind and all that lives but by the body's breath, she knocked and pressed against the ebony gate. There is a gate that separates the body mind, the outer mind, from the inner being. And it is dark, hard, like ebony gate. When she knocked and pressed, the living portal groaned with sullen hinge. Heavily reluctant, it complained, inert, against the tyranny of the Spirit's touch. A formidable voice cried from within, "Back, creature of earth, lest tortured and torn thou die." She is asked to go back. A dreadful murmur rose like a dim sea. The serpent of the threshold hissing rose. A fatal guardianhood with monstrous coils. The hounds of darkness growled with jaws agape, and trolls and gnomes and goblins scowled and stared, and wild beast roarings thrilled the blood with fear, and menace muttered in a dangerous tongue. But she is not frightened, unshaken, her will pressed on the rigid bars. The gate swung wide with a protesting jar. The opponent powers withdrew their dreadful guard. Her being entered into the inner worlds. In a narrow passage, the subconscious gate. First one enters into the subconscious. She breathed with difficulty and pain and strove to find the inner self concealed in sense. There is a self in every part. So she enters into the subconscious where the sense predominates. To find the self of the sense, she breathes with difficulty and strives. Into a dense of subtle matter packed, she forced her way through body to the soul. Across a perilous border line she passed, where life dips into the subconscious dusk, or struggles from matter into a chaos of mind, a swarm with elemental entities and fluttering shapes of vague half-bodied thought. At first, a difficult narrowness was there, a press of uncertain powers and drifting wills. For all was there, but nothing in its place. That is the subconscious. Everything is there, pell-mell, nothing in its place. At times an opening came, a door was forced. She crossed through the spaces of a secret self and trod in the passages of inner time, a world of sense. But all was still confused, nothing self-found. Soul was not there, but only cries of life. A thronged and clamorous air environed her. A horde of sounds defied significance. A dissonant clash of cries and contrary calls. A mob of visions broke across the sight. A jostled sequence lacking sense and suit. Feelings pushed through a packed and burdened heart. Each forced its separate, inconsequent way, but cared for nothing but its ego's drive. This is the typical character of the subconscious, the sense world that is locked up in each person. Hour after hour she trod without release, holding by her will the senseless mirth at bay. Out of the dreadful press she dragged her will and fixed her thought upon the Saviour name. Then all grew still and empty. She was free. A large deliverance came, a vast calm space. As she comes out of this senseless realm, she finds a mightier danger's front drew near. Approaching loomed a giant head of life. There is the realm of life force, vitality. Ungoverned by mind or soul, subconscious vast. It tossed all power into a single drive. It made its power a might of dangerous seas. Into the stillness of her silent self, into the whiteness of its muse of space, a spate, a torrent of the speed of life, broke like a wind-lashed, driven mob of waves. It drowned its banks, a mountain of climbing waves. Enormous was its vast and passionate voice. It cried to her listening spirit as it ran, demanding God's submission to chainless force. That is what our vitality, the life force, wants. It wants the submission of the soul to its drive. It brought a grandiose gust of the breath of life. Its torrent carried the world's hopes and fears. All lives, all natures dissatisfied, hungry cry. She goes further. She came into a brilliant, ordered space. There life dwelt parked in her armed tranquility. A chain was on her strong and insurgent heart. Life is being controlled. At a higher level, life is being controlled. The mind is asserting its order, its power. The reason's balanced reign kept order and peace. Her will lived closed in adamant walls of law. Imagination was prisoned in a fort. And in this kingdom of the small mind, he describes, a schoolman mind had captured life's large space, but chose to live in bare and paltry rooms, parked off from the too vast, dangerous universe, fearing to lose its soul in the infinite. The little mind is always afraid of the infinite. So it chooses to live in bare and paltry rooms. Even the idea's ample sweep was cut into a system, chained to fixed pillars of thought, or riveted to matter's solid ground, positivism. Or else the soul was lost in its own heights. Thought based a throne on unsubstantial air, metaphysics, speculation without relation to the earth. And then she goes further. Here was a quiet country of fixed mind. Here life no more was all nor passion's voice. A cry of sense had sunk into a hush. Soul was not there nor spirit, but mind alone. Mind claimed to be the spirit and the soul. Into a firm and settled space she came, where all was still and all things kept their place. Each found what it had sought and knew its aim. There one stood forth who bore authority, is a perfect mental being. On an important brow and held a rod. Command was incarnate in his gesture and tone. Tradition's petrified wisdom carved his speech. He says to her, traveler or pilgrim of the inner world, fortunate art thou to reach our brilliant air, flaming with thought's supreme finality. O aspirant to the perfect way of life, here find it. Rest from search and live at peace. Ours is the home of cosmic certainty. The mind, which has its own certitudes of thought, says, here is the truth. God's harmony is here. Register thy name in the book of the elite, admitted by the sanction of the few. Adopt thy station of life, thy post in mind, thy ticket of order, draw in life's bureau, and praise thy fate that made thee one of ours. All here docketed and tied the mind can know, all schemed by law that God permits to life. This is the end, and there is no beyond. Here is the safety of the ultimate war. Here is the clarity of the sword of light. Here is the victory of a single truth. Here burns the diamond of flawless bliss. A favorite of heaven and nature live. Savitri is invited to stop her quest of the soul because there is nothing beyond mind, and she is asked to stay. But she says, happy are they who in this chaos of things, this coming and going of the feet of time, can find the single truth, the eternal law. Untouched they live by hope and doubt and fear. Happiest who stand on faith as on a rock. But I must pass, leaving the ended search. Truth's rounded outcome firm, immutable. Here I can stay not, for I seek my soul. When she says that, the denizens of the mental world, each one, they murmured, and each by his credo judged the thought she spoke. And they start speaking aloud. Who then is this who knows not that the soul is a least gland of a secretion's fault, disquieting the sane government of the mind, disordering the function of the brain, or a yearning lodged in nature's mortal house, or dream whispered in man's cave of hollow thought? A splendid shadow is the name of God, a formless luster from the idea's realm. The spirit is the Holy Ghost of mind, but none has touched its limits or seen its face. Each soul is the great Father's crucified Son. Mind is that soul's one parent, its conscious cause, the ground on which trembles a brief passing light. Mind, the sole creator of an apparent world. All that is here is part of ourself. Our minds have made the world in which we live. Then another, with mystic and unsatisfied eyes, who loved his slain belief and mourned its death, says, is there one left who seeks for a beyond? Can still the path be found? Open the gate. And Savitri fared across her silent self, and she sees coming from this direction a company of brilliant figures, gods and goddesses, sages and seers with crowns, brilliant crowns and jewels, all in a hurry, going across her. She watches them fascinated, and she asks them, O happy company of luminous gods, reveal who know the road that I must tread. And she asks them, who are they? They say, we are going to save humanity. We are carrying help to save man. You come with us. She says, no, I want to go to reach my soul. And which is the way? Then she says, from thy hidden soul we come. We are messengers, the occult gods. O human copy and disguise of God, follow the world's winding highway to its source. There in the silence few have ever reached, thou shalt see the fire burning on the bare stone and the deep cavern of thy secret soul. That's what they tell her. And Savitri, following the great winding road, came where it dwindled into a narrow path, trod only by rare wounded pilgrim feet. There was no sound to break the brooding hush. One felt the silent nearness of the soul. And there is a rise, there is a climb. Here from a low and prone and listless ground, the passion of the first ascent began. A moon-bright face in a somber cloud of hair, a woman sat in a pale lustrous robe. A rugged and ragged soil was her bare seat. Beneath her feet a sharp and wounding stone, a divine pity on the peaks of the world, a spirit touched by the grief of all that lives. She looked out far the mother of the seven sorrows, that is what she is. The mother of the seven sorrows bore the seven stabs that pierced her bleeding heart. The beauty of sadness lingered on her face. Her eyes were dim with the ancient stain of tears. Her heart was riven with the world's agony and burdened with the sorrow and struggle in time. And anguished music trailed in her rapt voice. In soft, sweet, training words slowly she spoke, "O Savitri, I am thy secret soul. To share the suffering of the world I came. I draw my children's pangs into my breast. I am the nurse of the dweller beneath the stars. I am the soul of all who wailing writhe under the ruthless harrow of the gods. I am woman, nurse and slave and beaten beast. I tend the hands that gave me cruel blows, the hearts that spurned my love and zeal I serve. I am the courted queen, the pampered doll. I am the giver of the bowl of rice. I am the worshipped angel of the house. I am in all that suffers and that cries. Mine is the prayer that climbs in vain from earth. I am traversed by my creature's agonies. I am the spirit in a world of pain, the scream of tortured flesh and tortured hearts, fallen back on heart and flesh unheard by heaven, has rent with helpless grief and wrought my soul. I have seen the peasant burning in his hut. I have seen the slashed corpse of the slaughtered child, heard woman's cry, ravished and stripped and hailed, amid the bayings of the hell-bound mob. I have looked on. I have had no power to save. I have brought no arm of strength to aid or slay. God gave me love. He gave me not his force. I have shared the toil of the yoked animal drudge. I have shared the fear-filled life of bird and beast. And the burden of misery and the strokes of fate. I have been pity, leaning over pain, and the tender smile that heals the wounded heart, and sympathy making life less hard to bear. Man has felt near my unseen face and hands. I have become the sufferer and his moan. I have lain down with the mangled and the slain. It is then that Savitri tells her, Madonna of suffering, mother of grief divine, thou art a portion of my soul put forth to bear the unbearable sorrow of the world. Because thou art, men yield not to their doom, but ask for happiness and strive with fate. Because thou art, the wretched still can hope, but thine is the power to solace, not to save. One day I will return a bringer of strength, and make thee drink from the Eternal's cup. His streams of force shall triumph in thy limbs, and wisdom's calm control thy passionate heart. Thy love shall be the bond of humankind, compassion the bright king of nature's acts. Misery shall pass abolished from the earth. And then she passes on. This is the first. It is not her soul. but her soul force, her soul power. And then as she goes in her upward route, a finer perfume breathed from slender trees, all beautiful grew, subtle and high and strange. Here on a boulder carved like a huge throne, a woman sat in gold and purple sheen, armed with a trident and a thunderbolt, her feet upon a cushioned lion's back, a formidable smile curved round her lips. Heaven fire laughed in the corner of her eyes. Her body a mass of courage and heavenly strength, she menaced the triumph of the nether gods. A halo of lightnings flamed around her head, and a sovereignty, a great sisters zoned her robe, and majesty and victory sat with her, guarding the wide cosmic battlefield. The mother of might. If the first one was the mother of grief, the mother of might looked down on passing things, listened to the advancing tread of time, saw the irresistible wheeling of the suns, and heard the thunder of the march of God. Her speech was like a war cry, rang or a pilgrim chant. She says, "O Savitri, I am thy secret soul. I have come down into the human world, and the moment, watched by an unsleeping eye, and the dark contrariety of earth's fate, and the battle of the bright and somber powers. I stand upon earth's paths of danger and grief, and help the unfortunate and save the doomed. To the strong I bring the guerdon of their strength. To the weak I bring the armor of my force. To men who long I carry their coveted joy. I am fortune, justifying the great and the wise by the sanction of the plaudits of the crowd, then trampling them with the armed heel of fate. My ear is lean to the cry of the oppressed. I topple down the thrones of tyrant kings. A cry comes from proscribed and hunted lives. I smite the Titan who bestrides the world, and slay the ogre in his blood-stained den. This is the mother of might, whom men worship as one who kills the demons of egoism, the kings of falsehood, ego. She is called Durga, the one difficult to resist. He says, I am Durga, goddess of the proud and strong, and Lakshmi, queen of the fair and fortunate. When she gives wealth, when she gives prosperity, when she gives glory, she is called Lakshmi. I wear the face of Kali when I kill. There is a personality, a dark face with a garland of skulls to show that she is in a warrior mood. She kills evil. She extirpates all that is false. I trample the corpses of the demon hordes. I am charged by God to do His mighty work. Uncaring, I serve His will who sent me forth. I reason not of virtue and sin, but do the deed He has put into my heart. I fear not for the angry frown of heaven. I flinch not from the red assault of hell. I am the battle's head, the journey's star, but the great obstinate world resists my word. And crookedness and evil in man's heart is stronger than reason, profounder than the pit, and the malignancy of the hostile powers puts craftily back the clock of destiny. The cosmic evil is too deep to unroot. The cosmic suffering is too vast to heal. A few I guide who pass me towards the light. A few I save. The mass falls back unsaved. A few I help. The many strive and fail. But my heart I have hardened and do my work. Slowly the light grows greater in the east. Slowly the world progresses on God's road. His seal is on my task, it cannot fail. I shall hear the silver swing of the heaven's gates when God comes out to meet the soul of the world. That is what the mother of might says, and turning to her being of power she spoke, Madonna of might, mother of works and force, thou art a portion of my soul set forth to help mankind and to help the travail of time. Because thou art in him, man hopes and dares. Because thou art, men's souls climb the heavens and walk like gods in the presence of the Supreme. But without wisdom, power is like a wind. It can breathe upon the heights and kiss the sky. It cannot build the extreme eternal things. Thou hast given men strength, wisdom thou couldst not give. One day I will return a bringer of light. Then I will give to thee the mirror of God. Thou shalt see self and world as by him they are seen, reflected in the bright pool of thy soul. Thy wisdom shall be vast as vast thy power. Then hate shall dwell no more in human hearts, and fear and weakness shall desert men's lives. The cry of the ego shall be hushed within. Its lion's roar that claims the world as food, all shall be might and bliss and happy force. So she goes further on, and she finds a woman sat in clear and crystal light. Heaven had unveiled its luster in her eyes. Her feet were moonbeams. Her face was a bright sun. Her smile could persuade a dead, lacerated heart to live again and feel the hands of calm. Every word of it reminds me of the mother. She was exactly like this. A low music heard became her floating voice. O Savitri, I am thy secret soul. I have come down to the wounded, desolate earth to heal her pangs and lull her heart to rest and lay her head upon the mother's lap. I am charity with kindly hands that bless. I am silence mid the noisy tramp of life. I am knowledge poring over her cosmic map. In the anomalies of the human heart, where good and evil are close bedfellows, and light is by darkness dogged at every step, where his largest knowledge is an ignorance, I am the power that labors towards the best, and works for God and looks up towards the heights. Slowly I lift man's soul nearer the light, but human mind clings to its ignorance, and to its littleness the human heart, and to its right to grieve the earthly life. Only when eternity takes time by the hand, only when infinity wets the finite's thought, can man be free from himself and live with God. I bring meanwhile the gods upon the earth. I bring back hope to the despairing heart. I give peace to the humble and the great, and shed my grace on the foolish and the wise. I shall save earth if earth consents to be saved. Then love shall at last unwounded tread earth's soil. Man's mind shall admit the sovereignty of truth, and body bear the immense descent of God. To her, Savitri says, Madonna of light, mother of joy and peace, thou art a portion of myself put forth to raise the spirit to its forgotten heights and wake the soul by touches of the heaven. Because thou art, the soul draws near to God. Because thou art, love grows in spite of hate, and knowledge walks unslain in the pit of night. But not by showering heaven's golden rain upon the intellect's hard and rocky soil can the tree of paradise flower on earthly ground, and the bird of paradise sit upon life's buffs, and the winds of paradise visit mortal air. Even if thou rain down intuition's rays, the mind of man will think it's earth's own gleam. His spirit by spiritual ego sink,